Welcome, Nerdy Knights of the Well-Rounded Table, to Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms and, quite frankly, most aptly, Star Wars. I'm Queen of Queries and Defender of Droids, Sarah O'Connor. Welcome, welcome.
Hello there. I'm Colleen McMillan, Jedi Master and Rebel Scum collaborator.
I am Pirate Jedi, Anders Drew.
And I'm your ambassador from Naboo, Flo Siegel, and I'm back. It's been a while.
It has been a beat. It has
Welcome
been
back.
Yeah, thanks.
To a galaxy far, far away.
Yes.
I missed it.
And we truly run the gamut here in terms of rank, from youngling to Padawan and from knight and apparently pirate to master. But no matter the rank that you carry, younglings, one thing remains constant. Much to learn we still have.
Very true. So today on Bohemian Geek Studies, we are taking a detailed dorky dive into The Mandalorian Season 1. We're just over a week away from the Season 2 premiere on Disney+, and needless to say, we are a tiny bit excited.
I love it.
We are going back into Season 1 to discuss 10 of our favorite details, observations, and episodes for a refresher.
Not that refresher.
No. Also, if you haven't already, go back and check out our video on the Season 2 trailer up on our YouTube channel.
Good shout, Anders. Nice.
Yes, that's right. As always, this episode will contain spoilers, particularly for Mandalorian Season 1. We might do a little bit of guesswork on Season 2, but mostly Season 1. So if you haven't watched it yet, you've been warned. With that, let's begin by saying, punch it!
Punch it. All right. So we have to start first and foremost with that first episode. The day it came out, I don't really think it's possible for anyone to understate how high the stakes were and the expectations were for this show. When it came out, it had been being teased for over a year. This was the reason out of the gate that Disney was relying on to get people to sign up for Disney+.
Right.
So whether or not they could pull this off was going to be, I don't think it's unfair to say, this was going to drive the future of Star Wars, whether that was going to be big screen TV, if they were going to be able to do all of this. And holy shit, did they pull it off.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, because of some of the backlash, warranted or unwarranted, from the movies, it was kind of like, this is really going to be, I think like, couple that with how Han had been received, it was just like, if this does not work, we're in trouble, Chewie.
Yes.
That's my recollection of things.
Very, very much so. And
yeah,
so,
my recollection was that The Mandalorian was pretty pushed at D23, which is the Disney like con, and it was like you said, the only thing really driving Disney Plus. Like, you were signing up for Disney Plus for Mando, and Disney Plus, I mean, has really carried Disney through this like COVID time. So like, thank goodness that Mando hit.
Yep.
And it hit hard.
It hit hard. Oh my God, that final scene, the reveal, the baby Yoda reveal at the end. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But the fact that they kept that secret and no one had any idea it was coming, it was just extraordinary.
Essential.
That's insane that they were able to keep that secret.
I mean, it was actually wild. Like, so my husband works for consumer products, and the fact that like there was no product because they couldn't like risk it being leaked, it was just huge. It was such a surprise for everybody. It was insane.
Yep.
And no matter how much you like spoilers and leaks and stuff, people were really happy that this was not spoiled.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a precious gift, truly. Like, pun fully intended. It just was a perfect package.
Yes. But that happens all the way at the end of that first episode. So going back right from the beginning, though, you get a very, very quick sense of what this show is going to be. It's got this Western vibe, very much gunslinger walking into the cantina. It's got just that right amount of comedy in that that character that he's hunting at first. We see immediately, kind of grounding us in a timeline here, there's some updated tech from what we've seen before in Star Wars. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, all of Cloud City had that one giant carbon freezing chamber that they used to freeze Han, and Mando just has one on the ship next to his bathroom.
Yeah, no big deal.
And he has just like people in like file folders.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So all these bounties, all
the
these
tabs
people.
are open.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bounties.
I also love that like subtle unspoken way of establishing just like what an incredible predator this Mandalorian is for like movies hunting. It was so subtle and delicious.
Right. I mean, the guy he was after didn't seem like he was that dangerous, but some of those people he had frozen probably were.
Yeah. Colleen, can you tell us a little about the Empire, though, at this point? Like, we get some cues pretty early about that.
The Empire may be gone, but not everybody who was an Imperial is ready to give up just yet. In the first episode, seeing the client, who's Werner Herzog, amazing actor and director. He had that kind of Imperial medal hanging around his neck, like really flamboyantly just out there. Like, I'm a fucking Imperial, y'all, and I'm not going away just yet. So they're not out. They're down, but they're not out. However, his stormtroopers are looking a little bit draggled. They are, like, their armor's dirty as fuck, guys. They don't look great. They're trying. They're trying. It's tough times for the Imperials at this point, but they are still a presence.
These guys actually, it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if any of you guys ever watched this show. I've mentioned it a couple of times. Stargate franchise. There's, and about halfway through the series, like the main series antagonist, this like empire, galaxy-spanning empire is effectively toppled. But then like later on in the show, you still see like, oh, there's actually one here who's still controlling this planet, and there's one here who's still controlling that planet, and they're just like desperate to hang on to that power that they used to have. Yeah.
The remnant. There will always be a little remnant hanging on.
Yes.
I just remember like how crazy people got when they like realized it was an Imperial medal. They were just like, oh my God. It was, I just remember that being wild on the internet.
Yep.
It was like crazy.
Oh, yes. The detail is fantastic. And then the next one.
Baby Yoda.
Wants to take the next one.
Baby Yoda's here. Sorry, I'm just excited. Baby Yoda is introduced. Memes and merchandise will never be the same again.
Never. Never.
I mean, my kid has a Baby Yoda costume for this Halloween, so.
I came this close to getting my nephew a Baby Yoda for his birthday this year, but unfortunately, it said ages 3 and up, and he was only turning 2. So I was like, be on the safe side.
Yeah, that's a guideline. That's not a rule.
Anyway, but I mean, for all the excitement we have around Baby Yoda, there are a few questions about his introduction that I think we need to bring up, and some that don't really get asked, I think, as often as I would imagine they would. Maybe I'm just not going deep enough on the internet. I don't know. So when Mando and IG-88 in this epic gunfight battle scene right out of the gate rescue, quote unquote rescue him, he's being guarded by these Nikto, I think I'm saying that right? Nikto mercenaries, but we never actually know who hired them. Like, we don't know why they're here. We don't know why they're guarding this thing. We don't know who's been raising.
I had always assumed it was just like extra, just
frosting.
Whoever's first, just get it done. That's what I had always assumed.
And we find out that he is one of the biggest jokes about him. He's 50. He's a baby.
50 years old.
50. He's 50 years old. But I have a question about that age and that timing, just in terms of development and what we know about Yoda's age. So in Empire Strikes Back, Yoda mentions that he's been training Jedi for 800 years. And then in Return of the Jedi, he dies.
Calm down.
He dies when he says he's about 900. So presumably then, by the time he turned 100, he had been fully trained as a Jedi, was at least a Jedi Knight, and had at least one Padawan.
Yeah.
So that means he's about twice as much Baby Yoda's age. And if Flo, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, developmentally, Baby Yoda seems like he's about 18 months to 2 years old, right?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right. Just like based on how much he like walks and how he can drink from his little soup bowl. I would say so. But I mean, who really knows? And like, does the species like get a crazy growth spurt at like 51?
Yeah. Or at least mentally, like cognitively just shoots right up there.
Or Yoda's talking out of his ass, or he's trying to impress Luke. he's like, actually, I really have to talk myself up now because I'm the only one here to train Luke, and he needs to believe me and trust me.
Yeah.
Or he's getting senile. Yoda's getting old, guys.
But it could also take us back to like, it could also take us back to the previous question, which is like, how did Baby Yoda get here? Where has he been this whole time?
Yeah, for 50 years, where's he been?
Yeah.
Who was his babysitter before Mando?
How did Werner Herzog's client find out about him?
Totally.
Yeah, and we're assuming nothing's been messed with DNA.
Find out about him?
Yeah.
True.
Right.
Could be an Imperial experiment with a clone.
Right.
Yeah.
Of some kind. But so once we get there, there's this closing shot. Sarah, do you want to talk a little bit about that closing shot?
Yes.
Of the episode?
This is our number 2. And it is the little Baby Yoda and Mando Adam God moment, aka the ET moment. Just a touch. It was just so precious.
Adorable.
So sweet.
It was so precious. And it was iconically, I mean, I think one of the things is the Western artistry just gets nailed. And yet there's this sentimentality that's the heartstring of it all, and that's the number 2. It's the space dad tradition of it all, the family you choose. Who wants to take kind of the biblical meaning of this, because I don't want to steal the whole number 2.
The instant I saw it, I thought Sistine Chapel. It's when God is reaching toward Adam and Michelangelo's masterpiece, basically. And that's the whole dichotomy between father and son. What do we owe to our children? What do we owe to our parents? That kind of balance that needs to occur between a child and a parent. Yeah. And it's just like the helplessness of Yoda, little baby Yoda there, reaching towards this guy who's just kind of like, what the fuck is this? But also feeling that kind of paternal energy, feeling himself as a child that was rescued. He's kind of starting to turn back on the positive aspects of himself.
Yeah.
Like, oh. Plus the creation myth part. So yes, who created little baby Yoda? That's definitely going to come into play at some point. Who is basically, if he is a clone, like quote unquote, who is his God? Who made him, or who are his real parents?
Yeah, this just popped in my head. Like, we know the Kaminoans figured out a way to clone our clone trooper friends to be like accelerated. So maybe they figured out a way to like decelerate a Yoda.
Could be.
Like maybe they just like wanted to keep it really cute and like harmless looking, but it's actually like a lethal
the
weapon.
pug version.
Like, just popped in my head.
Oh, the pug version.
Yeah, right. But like that could totally be.
That could be. They could have figured that out. I also like the idea that Genesis moment. It's almost like in like a meta sense. It's like this moment is now spawning a new era for Star Wars.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, so
like,
true.
if I can make another little pun, it's almost like the New Testament of Star Wars, because if you think about it, there was a pivotal keystone father-son relationship in the first trilogy. And who was that father but a stranger in a mask? And here we have a different stranger in a mask who is more a father than Vader ever was. It's very, very interesting. And I love, Filoni has this magical way of using, I don't even want to say trope, because he does it so lovingly and so with such ingenuity.
Motifs.
More of an homage or a motif.
Yeah.
Him and Favreau are so good at that.
Exactly.
So
I find it to be a very, very, very good father-son. Flo, do you want to take the next one, our third?
Yes. Yeah. So as a parent myself, I was extremely impressed by the amazing hot rod that Baby Yoda sports. He is just chilling in this like levitating egg carrier doodah that, like, again, we don't know where it came from. We don't know who built it. He's just like in it. We don't know for how long he's been in it, if he's like been able to get out and walk around this room he's been stuck in. But man, I am down with that thing. I want to stick my kid in it and just like send her floating down the street.
It'll follow you.
Incredible.
It's autonomous that way.
Yes, it's like so great. I don't have to like push anything uphill. Man,
I don't need a flying car.
No,
Yeah.
I
don't
need
need
flying
lace-up shoes. Yeah.
Totally. And it's like got that sweet shade so he can just nap. Honestly, like it's the greatest ever. But the question is, of course, like what secrets does it have? Was it made on Camino? If Baby Yoda is a clone / not, who knows? Does Dr. Pershing know about it? Did he, you know, who knows? Like we don't really know where this thing came from. So
was he a DNA source? Maybe.
Yeah.
They had him as a source to make other Yodas, and it didn't work. Maybe.
I don't know.
Super possible, but either way.
I like the idea.
Stroller people out there, I need you to make this right now.
I like the idea that it has a bunch of hidden weapons too. Like he's going to hit a button sometime and it's just going to start firing.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
I also, before we move on to point 4, I also loved the artistry of the Mudhorn's eggs destruction. And like, you can see without ever seeing Mando's face, just like the, duh, bro, this is what you're about to like deliver like the milkman. Is that really what you want to do? I think it was just so beautifully done. So pointed that out.
Yes.
Yep.
Colleen, can you talk to us about Force abilities?
Yes.
I know how much you love them.
I do. I love a Force ability. I love looking at all the different ones. Be like, ooh, what have we got next coming up for the next series that's going to be an ability? Every time Lil Shammy Shake used a new ability, I was just like, yay! He can do that too. I was so excited.
It was honestly like proud parents with the report card. It was like, bless his heart.
A plus, totally. I mean, just in episode 2, he exhibited that telekinesis power immediately with the Mudhorn. And Mando's like, what is happening? Poor little guy, he tired himself out so much.
Oh my god, it was so cute.
Every time he falls asleep after he does something.
Just like, faints is so cute. The other one was healing. And Disney was actually really smart here. They introduced it on Mando before they introduced it in Rise of Skywalker with Rey. So they were kind of priming the audience to realize that this was a power, even though it had been established other places in canon and legends. They really wanted to hit this point home. So there's like connections between Lil Shammy Shake and Rey. Maybe if it's just Force powers, that's great. But this enhanced healing ability for how old he is, considering he is still a child, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And he's very instinctually drawn to healing, which I
wonder if
really
that
cool.
would indicate maybe a yellow lightsaber, or is
could be. He's just got to do the magic hand
I guess
thing.
we'll find out.
Yeah, do the magic hand thing, baby. I also love Grief Karga. We'll talk about him later. And then, like I said before, there's that tradition of introducing new Jedi abilities or new Force abilities with the telekinesis. That wasn't introduced until Empire Strikes Back. The lightning, the Force lightning from Palpy, wasn't introduced until Return of the Jedi. Yes.
You guys like that?
Power. I mean, I guess since it's a dark side power. I do love that Vader can't use it, but that's a story for another day. And then also when Baby Yoda pushes back or holds back the fire from the stormtrooper, the flame trooper, Kanan Jarrus actually showed that level of skill in Rebels. So I was that, and of course, then that scene made me cry because it made me think about Kanan.
Aww.
That had also been established, but we hadn't really seen any Jedi do anything like that.
And unfortunately, Kanan didn't walk away from that one.
He did not. He did not. Luckily, our little baby is just like a Force freaking prodigy.
I mean, that's like gotta collect them all, right? Like at this point,
is that what the stroller is? It's a Pokeball?
Yes!
I it's you, Baby Yoda.
Yes. We might see him too exhibit powers that were in Legends only. I doubt we'll see him develop Shatterpoint, which was Mace Windu's kind of Force ability.
What is that?
Get it later, but that's pretty advanced. That is where you can detect from a person's kind of emotional, psychological ley lines, how they're connected to other people. You can figure out what their weak point is.
Ooh.
Wow.
At certain points in their life. And of course,
That
for
was an
Mace, it just
interesting
went fucking over his head with Anakin, but that's fine. I don't think little Baby Yoda will be able to do that yet. Maybe someday. He might be able to gain an affinity for animals. He kind of showed that they were drawn to him. But then the wolf cat also took a swipe at him.
When he wasn't trying to eat them.
In the kitchen.
You're right.
When he wasn't trying to eat them. Which would be very Ezra. And if that Ezra might pop in to the series at some point, that would be a cool connection for them.
Be so
I
cool.
would really like to see if he's good at mental manipulation or force illusions, which was a power of Corran Horn in Legends.
How would you see that? Yeah.
He can basically make people see things. Like he can produce illusions that make people act. So I thought that's a
I feel
really...
like Palpatine kind of has that to a degree, doesn't he?
I think so. Really good at manipulation.
Yeah.
Palpatine, I think, can induce force visions. I don't know if that's ever really been canonized, but it seems like he has that kind of ability.
I'd like to see that one play out. I'd
That'd
be
be
a little
cool.
bit, yeah,
The
like
dark side. You have to be very careful with that one.
Listen, every once in a while, everyone thinks little baby Yoda's like super cute and everything. Every once in a while, I'm like, we need like a moment to talk about responsibility.
Maybe it's a Darth Jar Jar situation. It's like
he does go for that force choke.
Right? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so
that's another one that's in his arsenal.
Yeah.
It could happen. All right, next one. We have to keep going, right?
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Prison Break episode next. Anders, do you want to take this one?
Yes.
Or start this one?
I will start this one. So the episode, The Prisoner. Now there is a little bit of disagreement among us here. We'll get into that all about where this episode kind of falls in terms of like favorite, least favorite type thing. But I'm here to say this episode freaking rules. All right. Simple point, the cast. We'll go into a little bit more detail on some of these later, but I mean, instantly you have a single episode with Bill Burr, Natalia Tena, Clancy Brown, Richard Ayoade, and Matt Lanter, the voice of Anakin from Clone Wars, makes an appearance in this episode. That's not even to say that they got like three show directors in as the X-Wing pilots at the end.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That was so cool.
Yes.
On another like little bit here, I think this episode is kind of a little bit of a break from traditional form, which personally I like. The season only had 8 episodes at about 40 minutes each. And for a show that is ostensibly pretty serialized, to kind of break away and go new places and do new things for stuff that doesn't necessarily have to do with this overarching story is pretty impressive to make that work.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the first time we're not really on a new planet, it's a space station. And I think that makes it feel a little bit more Star Wars-y in a certain way. Like, you could just show me a picture of that prison ship's hallway, and instantly I'm like, that's got to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
The way that they designed that set, all the white and the black contrasting, the security droids, all that stuff. And last but not least, I mean, who doesn't love a good heist episode? You got to plan, you got to execute the heist. Something goes wrong, betrayal that everyone saw coming a mile away except the one guy.
Right.
Poor Mando.
And, fighting a prison guard and escaping from your cell. Just everything is just pure choice. It's so good. A couple of their smaller details that I thought were just like really fun that I really noticed on this last rewatch. The droid Zero is about to get Baby Yoda. He raises his hand and then something shoots the droid and Baby Yoda's just like looking. He's like,
that was honestly so funny.
So cute.
Good. And then, like I said, those X-Wings showing up and destroying the station in the end. It's just all around love it. Colleen, what was your opinion on this one?
Well, it wasn't my favorite episode. I'd say it's more somewhere in the middle for me. I do love that it established a different mood for Star Wars than we're used to. It was shot both as a heist and a horror film. A little bit of a different aesthetic there. There were a lot of fun set pieces and those really eerie special effects. It reminded me a lot of Ridley Scott's horror masterpiece, Alien. It's like, yes, give me more of this vibe. I really like the Star Wars when it goes down that kind of horror corridor, because there's some scary shit happening in space, guys. It just brought a whole new feel. I love the whole stalking through a haunted ship kind of thing that was happening. How you're just following Mando at like a Terminator almost, going from person to person to try and take them out. It really worked. And I think the scene where it turned from just heist movie into that horror movie was when they quote unquote broke the horror movie rules and killed the innocent person, the Matt Lanter's character Davin. I think that's when it turned from, oh yeah, this is a great heist. Everything's gonna go right, guys. Like Ocean's 11 up in here. To the, oh crap, now this monster is going to be stalking and killing us. I loved that part.
What about you, Flo?
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite episode of the whole season.
Yes.
I thought, I mean, honestly, so I'm going to admit this, I have not rewatched since, but this is like the one episode that really sticks out in my mind just because I like can still see me and my husband like sitting on the couch completely glued to the screen because it was like so adrenaline inducing, like what's going to happen. And honestly, like I totally get that it felt super Star Wars, but it also felt a little bit Marvel. Like, I don't know, like it felt a little bit like Guardians maybe, like when they're trying to break out of the jail there, which I just rewatched. So I don't know, I loved it. I like loved the strobing effects that were in it. I just thought it was brilliantly shot. I thought it was so great.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything coming, so I was like super surprised. Very easy audience. Sarah, what about you?
So this was my least favorite episode, and I hate to end like on the negative point, but I would
love it. I want it.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it a negative. I would consider it a critique. And I think what's interesting is my critiques are exactly what some people, i.e. all three of you, have said are reasons why you love it. And so it's more of a dealer's choice, if you will. So like, I'm not that into heists. So there we go, heists. I was so smitten on this Western feel that it was too much of a break for me. It did not feel realistic. I felt removed from the story. If it was a complete universe all in its own, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But because the break was so severe for me, and I love the fact that directors got their own episode. I think that was a fantastic, innovative decision by the Mandalorian team. And this isn't a dig against the director at all. I mean, as Flo says, those moments stand out to you. But because I'm not a horror gal and because I didn't want to watch Suicide Squad and Star Wars, it wasn't my favorite episode.
The Marvel feel.
Yeah, so that's kind of my end all. And then besides that, I just didn't find the like sex relationship that believable. Either show me, like show don't tell. Okay, Filoni, show don't tell.
This is still on Disney Plus, Sarah. All right, this is not an HBO Max
She was
type
practically
deal.
licking her knife. That
She
was
was
about as crazy as Star Wars is
That's
gonna
what I'm
get.
saying. It was a little bit too much and definitely not enough.
I'll agree with you on that one. I did not buy the like romance / sex situation. I was just like,
I was gonna say
like,
this is not. We're not calling this a romance.
No,
This is not a
It's
romance.
a sex of convenience.
Cool,
Completely.
like it felt so off, and maybe that's because sex is so not really talked about in Star Wars as well. Sometimes I wish it would be.
that's why we have fan fiction.
That's true. Like plug for that. But yeah, that's my kind of critique. But why don't we, unless we have anything further, we can get to our sixth one. How do we feel about that, folks?
I think we're good.
Well,
I think this is your category, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yes, our defender.
Defender of Droids IG-11 was a fantastic droid, so iconic. Frankly, sometimes when there are brackets as to favorite droids, people end up choosing this droid as their absolute favorite. The redemption arc was phenomenally played out, and you could see, I would argue, the humanity in this droid. And so one of the biggest things is that this is a reprogrammed droid. Is this the first time that we've seen this in Star Wars? Is it?
At least on screen, I want to say yes.
Okay, because someone here mentioned, and Anders, if you included this quote, C-3PO mentions against his programming to impersonate a deity. So there are certain...
There's a little bit of leeway there. So C-3PO does mention, because obviously IG's reprogramming plays a huge factor in his redemption. The fact that he was found and reprogrammed to be a nanny droid.
Yeah.
But, you know, C-3PO mentions in Return of the Jedi when Luke's like, okay, they think you're a god. Just tell them you're going to use your magic. And C-3PO's like, no, I can't do that.
I love that.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
A
It wouldn't be
deity.
proper. And then he still kind of does it anyway. Luke's like, just say the words, I got this. But then we also have his programming coming up again in Rise of Skywalker, where he's physically incapable of voicing the translation of that Sith dagger.
Right.
So it seems like there is some wiggle room around like what you're actually bound to with your programming. Some things you can, some things you can't.
Yeah.
Now, Colleen, I think you put this in here about Mr.
Mr.
Bones.
Bones.
Mr. Bones from the Aftermath novels. Yes,
I
love him,
Mr.
but go for it.
Bones so much. Yep, he is actually a heavily reprogrammed and remodified B1 battle droid. Snap Wexley, who is in the sequel trilogy, is actually the one who made him, or remade him, into kind of this like all-around bodyguard droid. He's basically like a little murder machine. And he like singing and dancing, and it's kind of bizarre when he does it because he's like covered in blood and stuff when he sings and dances.
That's so creepy.
So he's just not like
he's been like repaint. He's almost like repainted in like Darth Maul colors.
Red,
he's all like
red
and black, and he's got like blades that he like slashes with. And he's really Mr. Bones is not messing around.
No,
Clearly.
not if you threaten Snap. No, if you threaten Snap, it's all over.
Yeah.
But he's kind of the prevalent one I can think of who's like really reprogrammed to go against his base nature.
But anytime we talk about like reprogramming and droids, and Sarah, you referenced this earlier, like you see that humanity coming through. I want to ask you about this because IG does say a couple of times, I'm not a living thing.
But you forget he was in nanny mode. And what do you do in nanny mode? You make sure that your charges are okay.
Say what you gotta say.
You say what you gotta say.
So you think that's just a line? You don't think?
I think that's just a line. And anyone telling you otherwise is trying to sell you on otherwise.
I mean, droids are obsessed with deactivation. They do not want to, quote unquote, die. 3PO especially is very, very into it. The books I'm reading right now, The New Jedi Order, the bad guys, the overarching big bads, destroy droids. And the droids are terrified. They are terrified of these creatures that are coming for them. So it's not like they always say non-sentient, like we're non-sentient, but
are they?
Yeah, no way.
Operational for long enough, I think it starts to become
I think it becomes kind of the debate amongst people, and we don't have to go here, but like, do pets have souls, right? Like, I think sometimes people compare droids to the pets of Star Wars because they don't want to believe that, like, oh, it's actually slavery, which I take like the most extreme version. So like, if droids are pets, do pets have souls? And I say yes. So droids have little souls.
No.
Maybe little mechanical souls, but they're souls.
Colleen, I think it's really funny that you just mentioned, if he's on for long enough, maybe he kind of like gains that sentience, that ability. Just literally last night, I was watching Terminator Dark Fate, where Arnold Schwarzenegger absolutely comes out and says that I was around for long enough that I became fully sentient.
Oh, and I think that was an iRobot as well, in a way, that the Supreme Court decision ended up determining that
was Bicentennial Man.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
He only gained like humanity when he died, which was
when he was capable of dying. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, IG-11 did sacrifice himself well, and so we're kind of in a droid, like, will there be another one? Won't there be another one? I don't know. This isn't a prediction that, there have been any whispers or anything. I would love to see another one. I would absolutely love to see another droid in season 2, 100%.
Yeah, I would agree, because IG-11 was like the big surprise for me on this show. I mean, besides obviously Baby Yoda, but like, I feel like episode 1, you see IG-11 and you're like automatically against him because he's against Mando. And then to see that like relationship develop and like just that arc change and how you feel about IG-11 like completely change, that was like really moving for this first season. So I definitely hope that we get some droids, or definitely like some more like emotional content in the same vein, because I thought it was great.
some of his shots were just the most
Oh, yeah.
beautifully like rendered things. The way he's
Yeah.
able to move on screen and like
Mhm.
twisting and turning all over the place
Yeah.
while still
So
protecting his
clever.
little baby Yoda.
Yep.
So good.
Pretty much other than that, the only droid we find in season 1 that really has a real part to play, other than being just like a security droid or like a driver or something like that, is Zero in the episode The Prisoner. He's a little bit of a villain.
Mm.
So will we really get more droids throughout this? This is a low-level droid version of Star Wars. I mean, every iteration of this franchise up till this point has had kind of the quirky droid sidekick in some capacity, usually like a cute little astromech or kind of a sarcastic sidekick. Yeah, you got K2.
Yep.
I'm completely
Or
blanking
L3.
on her. L3, thank you. I was like
L3.
completely blanking on her name. Like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the
Yes.
solo droid. To provide some extra sarcasm, comic relief, and usually some form of Deus Ex Machina.
Yep.
So, but does Baby Yoda kind of fill that role?
I don't
on
think
the show? Not the
I hate to
sarcasm
say it.
potentially.
That's what I was gonna say. I these words sound uncomfortable in my mouth. I can't even say it right, but like it's uncomfortable. Baby Yoda would not be enough. You need some sentient. You need that dialogue. You need that Han Solo repartee. That Poe Dameron.
Mhm.
Like you need that bite and that masculine sass. I think.
What if we like open on season 2 and Baby Yoda is like teenage Groot and just like is full of sass?
That I would allow.
I'd pay money.
But I would pay money.
I'd go for it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
would
in
go
on
for it. Speaking,
You're not my real
speaking-
dad.
That's right.
speaking
Clam
things I
down
would
the
go for. Why don't we move on to number 7, which is Mandalorian culture and armor? Colleen, why don't you start us off on this?
Yep, we love our Mandos. First off, mask on, mask off. Why did this start? Who started it? Do we have any ideas, you guys? I posted one earlier that I think the armor did it herself, or maybe Bo-Katan did, but do you guys have any ideas? Like, why?
Yeah, do we have any idea how long this has been? My understanding was it was kind of like always. And I find it to be a very cool, intriguing narrative plot device. As for why a culture would decide to do something that is so disconnected to like one's ability to see oneself as a warrior, as a whatever, that blows my mind. So it's the coolest narrative plot device, but I have no idea.
It's really cool. I think it's definitely not been always, or if it has, it's always been this particular little subsect that we've never actually met before. Because just thinking back to the Mandalorians, we have seen throughout Star Wars, you've got Sabine, who absolutely takes her helmet off.
Right.
You've got Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, who walks around without his helmet, allows himself to be cloned into all of those clone troopers. And then throughout the animated series, anytime we're on Mandalore or any of its kind of satellite planets, you do see plenty of characters taking their helmets off.
Yep.
Right.
So
Boba Fett doesn't, but he's
Boba
not
Fett
in,
does not.
Not in very many of the movie scenes, so that could just be a coincidence.
And he definitely is walking around Sans armor in Clone Wars.
Yep. Yeah, baby Boba, definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder like when they would have to put their helmet on, because baby Boba does not.
I think it's when they
That's
when they
really
earn
hard
it.
to say.
It's kind of implied. Baby Boba.
Baby Boba.
Baby Boba. Baby Boba. Baby
Yoda.
Yoda.
I mean, this is the quandary that we've come to. Like, what is she talking about? This is the way? Like, when did this become the way? Although
when
that
did that become
tagline
a saying?
Such a great tagline. This is the way, and I have spoken are two best things that have come out of Star Wars in quite some time.
Yes.
Even though the Mandalorians do seem, even though there's not very many of them, they're still kind of contentious. Like friggin' Paz Vizsla's drawing on Mando for almost no reason, trying to take his helmet off so that he gets exiled out of the group. Like, really? There's not very many of you. Why aren't you like helping each other. Eventually they do. Like, yes, they do fight together because this is the way we keep each other alive, we keep each other safe.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they still have to be fighting with each other.
And they're still underground. Like, the Empire has officially fallen. They make several references to this great purge that obviously must happen sometime post Siege of Mandalore. So sometime under the Empire, probably with Moff Gideon
after A New Hope,
wiping out Mandalorian culture. But now the Empire is gone and they're still hiding underground. So I'm really curious to explore that reasoning. Hopefully they address it some in season 2 at least. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully Din knows at least a little bit. Like, have they been doing it since he was younger? Like, how old was he when this started? It'll be interesting to see whether it was because of the Great Purge or not. Yeah, or it's just too soon. Like, there's just not enough of them where they can be seen. And they can mask their numbers. They're going in single file, Anders, out of the sewers. They can mask their numbers that way.
Marching, single file.
Exactly. Just like the Tusken Raiders do. All right, next we want to move on to, this is one of our favorites, the major casting. Anders, do you want to take this one? I know you're excited about a lot of these guys.
I am. Actually, a lot of these people. So I think it just goes without saying, again, only 8 episodes in this first season. They had to make a splash. So out of the gate, like, not only in terms of their main casts, obviously Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian was huge news, but they have what I can only deem as like Law and Order level guest casting in these episodes. Like, with a great eye for bringing in extremely recognizable talent to pull off some great performances. And also a couple of like lesser known people who absolutely make a splash. I mean, we mentioned Giancarlo Esposito, the big mysterious big bad of Breaking Bad, made a huge name for himself there, and I think he is on Better Call Saul as well, right?
Yep.
Okay. As villain. Moff Gideon, this extremely villainous character who shows up in the last couple episodes. Carl freaking Weathers as the bounty hunter guild leader. Mando!
I love him so much.
As Grief Karga. He's just so good. He is chewing up every single moment he's on screen. You could tell he's having a blast. Bill Burr coming in for the prisoner as Mayfield in episode. Gina Carano as that ex-Rebel shock trooper. Cara Dune. We're disappointed in her. I don't think we're going to go into all the controversy around her staying on the show. Like, the
she
fandom
played the character very well.
She played the character very well. She,
but she sucks on Twitter, so I'm just gonna say
it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't see it anymore. She blocked me. That's all I'll say.
That's because you're a winner.
That's how we roll sometimes.
Other random people. I mean, you've got Amy Sedaris coming in, doing her best Ellen Ripley cosplay as a hilarious caregiver in her own right. Peli Motto in episode 5. We've mentioned before Ming-Na Wen as
Your girl.
She's my girl. As Fennec Shand, again, episode 5. A nice little unknown in that episode. Bobby Cannavale's son, Jake, as the would-be bounty hunter, Toro Calican. And then, as I mentioned before, you've got Natalia Tena as a Twi'lek Xian in episode 6. This appearance makes her one of only 2 actors in the world that have appeared in Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Game of Thrones.
I mean, she played that role. Like, even though it wasn't my favorite, I believed that she was that character through and through.
Yes. The one other actor is Julian Glover, who appears in Empire Strikes Back. He's the voice of Aragog, and he's Grand Maester Pycelle. You've got Nick Nolte as the voice of Queel, who is just, he's amazing. He's a great little Ugnaught. I have spoken.
Oh my God, I love him. Poor Queel.
We talked about IG-11. That's Taika Waititi, the director and actor. Pedro Pascal, obviously, as the Mando. We talked before about some season 2 castings that we've that have been rumored about. Timothy Oliphant, Rosario Dawson, potentially appearing in season 2. So just generally, I mean, the strength of this cast, what they've managed to pull in is nothing short of incredible. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, totally.
And to give people, the voice actors, a chance to actually act on screen is really cool. As Matt Lanter got to be an on-screen Star Wars role.
That must have been so exciting for him, honestly.
I'm a little disappointed they didn't name the character Annie.
Right?
That would have been cute.
And Davin is fine. Like, your name's Annie? Really? Yeah. Like, why?
Yes, my parents were big fans.
Yes. Like, I think that's a good one. I think that they could, find roles for some of the other voice actors. Obviously, if Rosario Dawson's going to be Ahsoka,
right? Then Ashley Eckstein should be someone.
Could make an appearance somewhere. Yeah. But that's kind of it on the casting. We are moving into our 9th little observation favorite point, and that is flow.
Yeah, so just as much as they had to completely hit the first episode, they had to nail the ending. So our 9th point is just about the entire finale, because we couldn't even pick one part of the finale. We just want to talk about the whole finale. So Anders, do you want to start us off with that?
Sure. I mean, let's just start with kind of at the beginning, those 2 stormtroopers.
Fuck those guys.
Are I'm getting there, Flo, okay? I'm getting there. Not only do they do a little like meta poking fun at themselves, they're doing a little target practice and they're trying to shoot a can or like a little motor that's like 5 feet away and they can't hit it at all. They also became the 2 most hated beings in the entire galaxy when they punched Baby Yoda in that bag.
Just once.
So
that was the word.
So Flo's right. Fuck those guys. Fuck them. Back to IG-11 in protective mama programming mode. He just fucks shit up. He is not having it. Major Molly Weasley vibes going on here.
Oh yeah. Not my Yoda, you bitch.
Yeah.
Moving into the standoff in the city. And side note, like, is there anything more terrifying that you guys can think of being like pinned down in a location?
No.
The villain just like walks out and starts like naming all of you like first and last names and like all these background details about everybody in your crew.
No.
Nope.
So well done.
So bad.
Mando does remove his helmet. We get Pedro Pascal on screen just long enough to probably get an Emmy nomination to qualify.
Yep.
Then eventually, we get the escape through the tunnels, shoot, nice little callback. Gina Carano is like shooting at the grate, trying to open it just like Leia did in on the Death Star. IG sacrifice. And I mean, I could just keep going. There's so much packed into this episode. It is so amazing, but I want to know what you guys think. I've talked enough.
Yeah, it's a crazy finale. Loved every single second of it. I was excited to get more of Moff Gideon because, as I said before, I love Giancarlo Esposito. Like, he can do no wrong. Every single scene he's in, I'm like, yes. And then, of course, we'll talk about this lastly, when he cut himself out of the TIE fighter with a certain weapon and nearly lost my shit. It was like, clapping. It was so great. The music. Oh my God. Shouts to the composer, who is Ludwig Göransson. The music, and not in just the finale, but the entire show is so fantastic and so evocative without being like certain it's Star Wars, but still like, oh, that's Star Wars.
Right.
It fits into the world really well, and he deserves any awards that he gets for his score work on this. Just incredible. Love the director, Taika Waititi. He's fantastic. Like, not only is he IG, he's also directing this, and there's so much action, but he knows precisely where to do like little bits and pieces to kind of not give us battle fatigue from all of the explosions and stuff that's happening. So it moves along at a really quick pace, but it's still action-packed. And, of course, little Shammy, when he raises his little hands and he stops the fire explosion.
Too much. And too cute.
The angle on that shot, I loved. Even though it's kind of not possible to actually get an angle like that, it just looked great. Loved it.
Mhm.
And then the finale, of course, left open so many possibilities for the series to come.
Yep.
Freaking the exposition upload from the armorer in less skilled hands, that would have seemed like either cheesy or like they're trying to shove way too much information down our throats too quickly. And there's plenty of people online who are like, why is she being so cagey? Why is she talking like this?
It's Star Wars. Of course she's
Yeah,
being
exactly.
cagey.
I was gonna say.
Why wouldn't she be cagey? Of course she's going to be. She's the one with all the information. She can't just go giving that to the protagonist. But it was just filled with so much gravitas and wonder, which I think is totally Star Wars. Like, yes, you can't have all the information at once, otherwise there's no story.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that left us with a question, like, why is the armorer talking like this? What is she hiding?
Right.
Which I think we'll see a lot more of in season 2.
For sure. Flo, do you have anything else
Sarah.
to add before I get to number 10?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't been this excited for a show since the final season of Game of Thrones. And obviously, like, we all know how that went. So it was just like really, and I did still enjoy the last season of Game of Thrones, don't get me wrong. It just didn't, you know, it didn't hit the way I wanted it to hit. So having this show just really nail it for me. And, you know, from the first episode to the last episode, they just really crushed it. My favorite part of this episode, I would say, was probably the Stormtroopers with Baby Yoda, just because I was so worried that they were going to actually hurt him and that we were going to end this, like, this first season without Baby Yoda. Like, I knew in my head that they wouldn't do that, but in my heart, I was really, really worried. Just because, like, Star Wars has done me dirty before.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was nervous. But, yeah, I mean, I loved all of it. I can't wait for season 2. I'm so excited.
Yep.
Mhm.
I think
Sarah?
they nailed it. I think they nailed it. My favorite part was IG. I sobbed. It's
so good.
fine. I will sob again when I rewatch it. It's fine. And so I think that's probably one of the most impressive parts, the fact that there were so many different talented directors. It totally felt as if it was its own one season, and it just nailed it. And you know what else nailed it? Our number 10, which was that delicious Dark Saber, which showed up in the last shot of season 1. So, I mean, you don't just do that to us without it meaning something. So I can't wait to see it show up in season 2 inevitably.
Yeah.
And for a full backstory on this incredible weapon, check out our episode on representation in Star Wars and Sabine Wren, the Warrior, because we cover it there. And what's really, really cool about this, fun fact, is it was a physical prop. Seeing it behind the scenes. Who did that note to take it away? Take it away.
That was me. I almost had the same reaction to actually seeing it on screen as when I was watching the Disney Gallery series, where they do a lot of behind the scenes around this. And you see Giancarlo Esposito literally just walking around the set with a physical blade that is lit up, like almost exactly the way it turns out in the final product. That was not like CG into it, which is just like, I just think that's so cool.
It's incredible.
Yes.
And
The fact that it's real, tangible, you can do it now is just, it's magic. It's magic
really
brought to
is.
life. That's really what it is.
And so, like, you know, we didn't see this in the season 2 trailer. Obviously, they're kind of keeping it under wraps, but knowing the history of this blade, all the references we made to the Great Purge, and that's likely how Moff Gideon came into possession of it, we can assume at some point this thing is going to show up in a pretty significant way for something that is so central to Mandalorian culture. For it to not would just be weird at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What were y'all's?
See Mando wield it? We don't know.
Could be. Maybe that's why he has to meet up with Ahsoka and Sabine.
The possibilities are endless. What were your reactions? For me, I just knew, the internet's gonna love it. What were your reactions, guys? And Flo, why don't you take it first to seeing the Dark Saber?
Okay, well, I can take it first because I didn't notice it. Yeah, so I obviously I was like still very concerned about Yoda. Okay, don't at me like that, internet.
Understandable.
I did not watch Rebels. I'm still working through Clone Wars. So the Dark Saber does not mean much to me, yet, besides what you guys have taught me and what our friends on the internet have taught me. And so, like, I know it's important, but, like, on first watch, I wasn't like, oh my God. I was just like, oh, weird. Like, he's got a lightsaber. That's, like, really strange. So it didn't do anything for me, but I'm very excited to see where it goes in season 2. And hopefully I'll, eventually catch up and watch Rebels.
Anders, how about you?
I was just like, oh my God. I was just really excited when it turned up because for some reason I had no expectations that this was going to turn up at any point. Like, and I don't, looking back on it, it seems like somewhat obvious that they would bring that in some way. But so I was just like floored back. And Flo, I think that's really interesting the way you said how you like didn't even notice it because I was talking to my brother who's, not nearly as into any of the Star Wars lore that I am. Like he's never watched Clone Wars, Rebels, any of that. But introducing this thing that is, even if you're a casual Star Wars fan, it is still unique.
Yeah.
It is still something you haven't actually seen before. So he's just sitting there like, that's kind of interesting. We've never seen a lightsaber that looks like that color or that like kind of flat blade to it.
Well, at first I thought
you're sitting there like
I was really confused as to like why my TV was so dark. I was like, why doesn't it have like a normal like color?
Yeah.
So I thought it was just...
even for the casual viewer, it is still like something that can really has the potential to pull you in like that. But yeah, no, I was just like giddy. I was just like, oh my God.
Yes.
Colleen?
Well, I was spoiled by my brother.
No!
Who had watched the episode in the morning, and I had to go to work, so I had to wait to watch it for when I got home.
Oh
my
no.
That's the worst.
What's worse, I'm the one who introduced him to Clone Wars and Rebels. So he was like, oh, it was really cool in The Mandalorian when the Dark Saber showed up. I was like, what?
I think you should zone him. Just like kick him out of the family immediately.
Yeah.
Just be done.
And he's notorious for spoiling things. Like he doesn't mind spoilers, so he sometimes forgets that other people do.
Yeah.
So then when I texted him back, I was like, I haven't watched the episode yet. He was like, oh shit. Like, my brother.
You can't do that.
Curses again.
Like on the day of, like you can't bring that up.
Day of finale. I had not watched anything on the internet. I had stayed off the internet and off of Facebook. I didn't know anything about what was going to happen, except that Moff Gideon was coming back because he was in the preview. And then the one thing my brother says is about Dark Saber.
So here's what you've learned. Season 2, don't talk to anyone.
Yeah, don't talk to my brother.
Get up early, watch the episode.
Yes, I will be getting up early now. But yeah, it still floored me. I thought it was so cool. I'm like, Dark Saber is awesome. Sarah?
And I was just gonna say, tune in to find out more because we'll be covering season 2 Mandalorian soon enough. And I think for now that kind of wraps things up for us today. So thank you so much for joining BGS. Subscribe to us on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get those delicious, sweet podcasts to your ears. And subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or head over to the BohemianGeekStudies.com for all of our detailed dorky dives. And specifically, we've got some of Colleen's book corner reviews started up. And until next time, Dark Saber's up, and keep those episodes streaming. Bye, y'all.
Cheers,
Bye.
y'all.